I'm 2 days into this long holiday weekend, and so far I've worked in the garden, gone to a football game, followed by pizza out with a dear cousin, and attended Mass this morning. In the quiet stillness of this afternoon, I had the luxury of reflecting on the blessings and restorative power of this relatively carefree weekend. I thought back to the differences from some of the more difficult days of caregiving about how the mental and emotional aspects of caring for my husband throughout his Alzheimer's was really more difficult than the physical demands, even though the physical demands were certainly tough. And I wondered if you, like me, have found that some of the most difficult days of caregiving were when I was having to make important, even critical decisions about my husband's care. Making those decisions for another person sometimes brought up this complex tangle of emotions that I felt on a deep level. Guilt, confusion, fear of making a mistake on the one hand, and on the other hand, in contrast, the opportunity to express love, generosity, and care. And often those feelings coexisted and they consumed a lot of energy. And as we try to deal with the thoughts and emotions that caregiving decisions often stirred up deep inside us, we become really kind of disheartened and doubtful of our own abilities and nervous that we'll mess up. To top all that off, I think one of the biggest personal challenges we caregivers can experience is when we need to make changes in the care because our dream plan of how we wanted to be as caregivers and how we wanted to deliver care is just no longer working. Either our loved ones' needs have changed, our own abilities to deliver care have changed, or our life circumstances and resources have changed. When this happens, we have to let go of our ideal vision of how we wanted this to go, and that's a loss. We have to let go of what we wanted and be flexible, and we may need to venture onto a path that we really didn't want to go down. So in this episode, I'd like to talk about some steps that you can take that will help you navigate making decisions for your loved one so that you will be equipped to make those decisions calmly, rationally, and with confidence that you are doing your best for your loved one. So stay tuned. I'm Dr. Corabelle Arps, and this is the Caregiver's Careport. This podcast is brought to you by Scissortail Health Coaching, dedicated to helping family caregivers manage their emotions, mindset, and life changes so that they can be healthy and live their best possible life while caregiving. Scissortail Health Coaching offers one-on-one coaching and support, online resources, and a complimentary private consultation for caregivers with Dr. Arps. You can access these services online at scissortailhealthcoaching.com. Every caregiver is different, and every caregiver is unique, and circumstances vary. But there are some strategies which you can use to help you through so that you can make decisions which are on point with your loved one's needs, align with your values, and are available to you and your loved one. The first step in making good decisions as a family caregiver is understanding the situation. And part of the situation is who's actually in charge of making the decisions. This might seem obvious, but it's crucial to take a step back and have clarity about who has the legal authority to make care decisions. Is it the care recipient or someone else? Who's in the most logical position to have input, whether by relationship and or ability? And how will you handle other people, most often family members, who are not the legally designated decision maker, but they insert their opinions and use their voice to influence the decision-making progress? Sometimes it's helpful, but possibly also it can be not so helpful. Sometimes who is the decision maker is clear, as when the care recipient has intact cognitive and decision making capacities. Or it's also clear if another person is named in a medical power of attorney document. But sometimes it's not so clear or may even be contested. It's important to have a clear sense of where you stand and if there is a need to consult with an attorney. If there are family dynamics that are undermining caregiving efforts or decision making, consider getting a family mediator. If you're wondering what a mediator might do to help you and your family, take a listen to episode 3 of the Caregiver's Careport, which featured an interview with Bill Cohen. Bill is a caregiving support consultant, a certified senior advisor, and a trained elder mediator. On that episode, he described with great work the great work that he does with families who are having conflicts about the delivery of care for their loved one. If you do have multiple family members that will play a role in the decision-making process or will be impacted by that process, then you will be part of a team effort. And actively involving the family is a vital step in the decision-making process and the rationale for the decisions. So communication is really crucial, and in the long run will help solidify your team and decrease the conflict and hard feelings. When you are able, include the involved family members early in the caregiving process so that they can be informed and understand the health status and care needs of your loved one. If you try to bring them in later, just be aware that their memories and how they think of your loved one may be based on a very different stage of life that your loved one has. Maybe they had seen them a year before, or even 6 months before their illness or their need for care happened, and they won't understand what you're telling them about your loved one's needs because it kind of hits them out of the blue that things have changed and they haven't really seen it or been a part of it. Next, whenever possible, involve your loved one in the decision-making process, especially when it comes to their health care. If they are moving into an illness such as dementia, know that even when you need to kind of take the lead and guide things, they may still be very much able to tell you what their wishes are. I think one of the things that really helped me during my husband's illness, and especially when he came closer to the end of the illness, was within a few weeks of him being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, we went to an elder care attorney, and he was able at that time to still express his wishes for the type of care he hoped for, if it was possible, and especially for his end of life wishes. We were able to get the documents that I was named the medical power of attorney and also just his regular power attorney for business matters and that kind of thing. And he also filled out and signed a do not resuscitate order. So those things were all in place. And as his illness evolved and he got to the point where he was really no longer able to express his wishes, I had very clear-cut guidelines on what he hoped for, and that made things so much easier for me. It's always good to respect their wishes. It's essential to understand and respect their preferences and to involve them in conversations about their wishes regarding life-sustaining treatments, living arrangements, and the quality of life priorities. Also, do advanced care planning. such as getting all those legal documents in place for a living will, durable power of attorney for health care, and do not resuscitate orders, if that applies to an illness that your loved one has. Having clarity about who will make the decisions, attending to the family relationships and communication within the family, and doing advanced care planning lays a really good foundation for you as you move forward and begin the caregiving decisions. I would just, as an aside, also add that one of the things I often hear from people is that when they're taking care of their spouse and their older age, and they have adult children, often the adult children will have very strong opinions about how caregiving should be delivered. And oftentimes they will try to protect their caregiving parent so that their parent whose caregiving does not become overly taxed, or that their own health is being jeopardized because of their caregiving efforts. So I think the communication is really important. And to remember that oftentimes those adult children really will be concerned about you, and to respect that. They're expressing their love for you and their hope that they will not lose you. So the communication is really crucial in those circumstances. And I think it helps when family members can put those concerns into words. The words can be so powerful, and when they're said with love and the motivations are clarified, they often tend to bring family members closer together. So all that being said, let's move on to the next steps. And one of the most important things to do early on and throughout the time you are caregiving is to evaluate the needs of your loved one. What kind of care do they require? Is it medical, emotional, or daily living support? Maybe all of those. Understanding the type and level of care needed helps you to prioritize what you're going to try to get for them. And to evaluate your loved one's health status, start by having a thorough discussion with your loved one's healthcare team. Get a clear diagnosis. If your loved one has a medical condition, make sure that you understand that diagnosis. Ask the provider for detailed explanations and don't hesitate to seek a second opinion if you're unsure. If they do not yet have a clear diagnosis, ask their provider what will be the next steps to make a diagnosis and plan treatment. Next, do everything you can to understand the prognosis. The prognosis is the forecast or the likely course of the disease and what can be expected in the future and what kind of care will best address their needs, not only now, but also in the future. And educate yourself about the condition that they have. There are many reputable websites, support groups, and books that provide valuable information. You'll probably have a lot of questions about their condition, their symptoms, treatment protocols, and changes in their presentation. Don't hesitate to reach out to the treatment team and get answers and support. When you have meetings or you're finding information that seems really important and relevant, take notes, start a notebook, make recordings of what you're finding out, whatever system works for you, that you can gather the information that you need and have it at your fingertips. So take advantage of available resources and do your research. This step can make a significant difference in the quality of decisions that you make. I will say that when you go online, to get the most out of it, look for websites that are evidence-based. And what that means is the information you're being given is research-based. These will include websites such as ones from the National Institute of Health, the Center for Disease Control, the websites of medical schools and well-known hospitals, and the websites of national organizations such as the Alzheimer's Society or the National Cancer Institute. Then the next step is to carefully assess your loved one's current health situation and their present and future needs. Just discuss and evaluate their comfort and quality of life, particularly for hospice or palliative care decisions. Prioritize comfort and quality of life. This might involve managing pain, reducing stress, and ensuring that your loved one can spend their remaining time as peacefully as possible. Consider their cognitive function. If your loved one is dealing with dementia or cognitive decline, assess their ability to live safely at home, because sometimes people with dementia may become aggressive or combative. They may refuse help or treatments, or they may leave home and get lost. Are they able to be safe to themselves and to others in their current place of care? Evaluate their current environment to ensure it's safe and suitable for your loved one's needs. Are there any modifications needed, like grab bars or ramps, and can they be available to you? Can they use the available bathroom? And if not, what accommodations can be put into place? These details matter in creating a supportive atmosphere and determining whether any given level of care is adequate for your loved one's needs. So, in summary, just does their current place of care provide safety, comfort, and are their caregivers able to provide the amount of physical, medical, and emotional support that they require? But decision making in caregiving isn't just about logistics and the needs of your loved one. It's also about you, the caregiver. How are you handling the emotional, physical, and ethical dimensions of the care you're providing? Making decisions for another person, especially for a loved one who is used to being you're used to having as your partner in making big decisions, or a parent who was previously independent, can be really difficult. It's important to first acknowledge the emotions that you're having about it. So it's natural to feel a range of emotions when making decisions. You may feel guilty, insecure, sad, or even angry at having to take this on. On the other hand, you may feel relieved that you at least have some amount of control in what's happening in the situation. Many caregivers feel a mix of emotions, such as both guilt and relief, when their loved ones, need to go into a care facility, for example. So recognize these feelings and seek support when needed. And again, always consider the wishes of your loved ones and prioritize the preferences and values of your loved one when it's possible. It may not always be possible. This might involve having those difficult conversations about their desire for end-of-life care or other sensitive topics, and it's best just not to put those off, but to have them as early as possible and open the door into that open space as much as you can in your relationship with them. You always need to balance safety and independence. It's a real balancing act, safety and independence. Striking that right balance between ensuring safety and respecting your loved one's independence is really challenging, but it's necessary. And you can try to honor their autonomy as much as possible, but sometimes it's really difficult, especially if their decision-making processes for themselves has kind of run amok with their illness. So get support when you need it. It's also critical to understand the different types of care that are available for your loved one. And you can, again, find good information from their healthcare team, from other people who have kind of navigated the same road you are in caregiving. And you can go online. You can visit facilities and talk with them about what they offer and get a feel for kind of the culture within those communities, and also for the level of safety and medical care that they can provide. And so you have a lot of different options. Each option kind of serves a unique purpose, and knowing what they can offer can really help you make informed decisions. Of course, you always have to also determine what is available to you, either through insurance or your ability to finance it. There are a lot of different levels of issues to take into account as you make the decisions, which is another thing that makes it so difficult. But there is the in-home care, which involves providing care within your home, allows your loved one to stay in a familiar environment, but may require significant support from family or hired caregivers, and modifications in the environment of your home. Some communities have day programs for people with dementia where they live at home but attend a program during the day. And there are memory care facilities that have specialized environments designed to support individuals with Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia. And these facilities provide structured care, safety, and activities that are tailored to memory impaired individuals. There's also hospice care, which is focused on providing comfort and quality of life for those with terminal illnesses, typically with a prognosis of 6 months or less of life left. It emphasizes pain management and emotional support, and it's often done in the patient's home or at a hospice facility. There also is palliative care. Palliative care is broader than hospice and can be provided at any stage of an illness, which is serious. It focuses on relieving symptoms, managing pain, and improving the quality of life regardless of the long-term prognosis. So now that you're armed with knowledge and clarity about your loved one's current needs and the resources that are available, it's time to make the decision. First of all, just weigh the pros and cons of your options. List the potential benefits and drawbacks of each option, and include the financial burdens and availability of different care solutions. This methodical approach can help clarify the best path forward and help you be rational about it. Then, once a decision is made, create a clear plan of action. And this plan should include the steps you're going to need to take, when the steps will be taken, and who is responsible for what. Now, one thing I really cannot stress enough is that oftentimes as caregivers, when we're trying to make decisions, we're literally trying to hit a moving target. Things change over time. Medical symptoms change. Sometimes the results you expected don't come to pass. Be prepared to adjust. And remember that caregiving is an evolving process, an evolving journey that you're on. What works today might not be suitable tomorrow. So be flexible and willing to reassess decisions as circumstances change. Be quick on your feet. If changes need to be made, it does not mean that you failed or that you are a bad husband or wife, son or daughter, or a bad friend. It just means that something different is needed at the present time for your loved one's safety, comfort, and/or health. Acknowledge that decision-making is often really hard, and despite our best preparation and consideration, we can't absolutely predict the future. And we can't be in control of everything. We just make what seems to be the best decision we can at the time. So grant yourself some grace. Making these kinds of decisions is never easy, but it's a vital part of ensuring that they receive the best possible care and the best possible level of care in the safest place where they can have the most comfort. Whether you're considering in-home care, a memory care facility, hospice, or palliative care, the most important thing is to make decisions with compassion, informed by a deep understanding of their needs and wishes, coupled with your knowledge of their needs and the availability of the resources which are there for them. With these steps, you're going to be well equipped to make thoughtful and informed choices. And remember, it's okay to ask for help and to lean on your support network. You are not alone in this journey. Thank you for tuning into the Caregivers Careport. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with other caregivers you know so that they can benefit from it. Until next time, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Caregivers Careport. If you found this episode helpful, again, please share it. I'm Dr. Corabelle Arbs, and until next time, take care.